Hey, welcome everyone. Hey, this is a podcast that explores various aspects of addiction, potentially focused on personal stories of recovery, scientific perspectives, societal impacts, or related topics. This podcast often features discussions with experts, individuals in recovery, therapists, and advocates to offer insights and support to those affected by addiction or seeking more information about it. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and I just realized I have not silenced my phone because it just told me I didn't. So give me just 1 second, folks. All right, it is. Apologize for that. So again, I'm your host, Al Richards, and today with our guest, Sinead Irwin, we're going to be discussing She Empowers. And I tell you what, guys, you're going to want to listen to this show because this beautiful lady definitely empowers. And really, in all honesty, she helps you bring your own powers out. You actually empower yourself with how she has been trained and what she does. So, Sinead, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on your show, Al. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much. Yes, gosh, we met a couple times at a wellness alliance, and I don't know why it didn't click with me on the first time that we met, but the second time that we spoke, I'm like, I got to have this gal on my show. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Al. Thanks for having me.
So, Sinead, I mean, she empowers. Just so the people, our listeners, understand what what happened in your life to want to go in the direction that you're going to now want to help other individuals. Because I have found so many of my guests, including myself, something happens in our life and we end up jumping out of a car and rolling down a hill who knows how many times, and we land on this new path and we're like, oh my gosh, this is my why.
Mm.
Is that kind of what happened with you?
That's 100% what happened with me, Al. So I'm a functional nutritionist and wellness coach. So what I do, just so that the audience knows what I do before I talk about why I'm doing it. So I identify the root causes of my clients' specific health issues and work with them to develop personalized nutrition and lifestyle plans, empowering them to heal and live their best lives. Um, so I wasn't always doing this. I used to be an investment banker. So I grew up in Ireland, moved to Amsterdam and then London, where I worked in the investment banking world. And even though I loved that life, I always felt drawn to health and wellness. That was always my passion. So I was always like reading tons of books and figuring out what I needed to do to heal myself. So my issues stemmed from chronic depression, growing up in Ireland as a teenager. Not blaming Ireland, but just so happens that's where I was living. But so terrible depression, with that, a whole host of physical health issues. So body dysmorphia as a result of that, multiple eating disorders. As a result of that, then digestive disorders and autoimmune diseases. So I definitely went through my fair share of physical and neurological ailments. And I never felt listened to or understood by Western medicine. Like they wanted to medicate me straight off the bat. They didn't even ask me, why I thought I was feeling that way or what was going on in my life, right? They just wanted to, put me on antidepressants. So I started to read and research and figure out what I needed for my body and my mind to live symptom free. And so then we had the opportunity to move to New York as a family from London. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop the banking world. And we were, having a young family then. And I thought, okay, I'm going to raise my family and I'm going to go back and do my master's in holistic wellness because I figured if I can help people heal the way I'd healed myself of so many issues, there is really like power behind this to empower other people. So I did my master's in holistic wellness as I was raising my young family in New York and then moved to Utah 10 years ago. And I'm like, okay, now even if I just help one person and that person helps one person, we create this domino effect. I've got to do it. I've got to get the word out there. So I started to help other people and figure out what was triggering their issues and help them change their food and lifestyle habits to live their best lives.
You know, and I love that you said, Sinead, even if I just help one person,
Yeah.
because that domino effect,
Hmm.
that tsunami wave gets so large without us even really knowing it. And I've
Yep.
said this on the show so many times, you know, because it's like when we have our Healing Utah Success Summit and our event and or I do a public speaking or whatever. If someone, just one person walks away that benefited from it, there's so much that's happening outside of our vision that's making an impact. And to know that we are that pebble that was dropped in the water,
Hmm.
my gosh, it is such an amazing feeling. And when we have that feeling, I think we understand, or at least we know we figured out our why. Why are we here? Because you figured yours out, and it was on your own personal journey at the start of it
Yep.
to get you to where you're at. Now look how many hundreds of individuals that you're
Mm.
impacting.
And that's exactly it, Al. Like in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if I can just save one person from going through the pain that I went through and that I put my family through, then that's worth it. Then that's totally worth it. But now, like, you know, people tell their friends or people they come across, hey, you need to speak to her, she can help you, da da da. And then it creates this community of people who who know there are other ways out there to, to get their health back and to live their best lives.
Yeah. You know, and it's one thing that I have found now, even through what little networking I'm doing right now, because I'm so busy, is the functional medicine. I remember I met a beautiful young lady by the name of Rachel at a networking group, and she introduced herself as doing functional medicine. And I'm like, I've not ever heard of that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, I've not ever heard of it. So I had a chance to sit down and talk with her a little bit more. And I love the whole concept behind it because Rachel and someone like yourself, you
Mm.
guys are there to dig to find the root cause,
Yeah.
not like what you even mentioned, Western medicine, to where, I mean, when I was looking for a family doctor, someone that I could trust, there was two of them that I literally got up and left because the first thing they did was take out their prescription pad and go, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Here, we're gonna give you this. I want you to take 2 every day for the next 40 days or 50 days, and we'll see what happens from there." So, what do you mean
Yeah.
see what happens? I wanna know what's causing my issue. I
Right.
don't want you to cover it up.
Mm-mm.
And so functional medicine, when I started understanding it more, I'm like, "This is it. This is like the old-fashioned way."
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, in the functional medicine world, the doctors and nurse practitioners in that world, they do medicate if they think that it's necessary. But in the meantime, let's look at the why. Is it because, you got food sensitivities? Is there a toxin exposure going on? Is there an infection? Is there bacteria? Is there like, what is it? Right. And then we work with the body to heal from the root cause and to build it up so that it can heal itself naturally, right? Which is built to do. Our bodies are built to
Yeah.
heal.
Good, and I don't think the majority of the people know that. I mean, I'm
No.
sure you've had clients come to you and go, "I didn't realize my body could heal itself," because God built an amazing machine.
Oh my
I
gosh, it's
mean,
a miracle.
we w and a good example is my ex-wife, was in an accident, and she got this cut that got infected immediately, and it got so bad, they were almost thinking they were gonna have to amputate her leg.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so they had to go in and do a surgery to go in and really open it up to get all the infection out.
Hmm.
And it literally, I've got pictures of it on my phone. And someone with a weak stomach, it would not they could not handle it, but it looked like a shark came up and just took a chunk out of the inside of her thigh.
Oh my goodness.
So when I was there in ICU talking to the doctors and things, I'm like, "So are you guys gonna have to end up doing like a skin graft or different things like that to?" They're like, "No, we keep it open. The body will heal from the
Body will
inside
heal.
out." And I'm
Hmm.
going, "There's no way. There's like a chunk
Uh-huh.
missing out of her leg." And I'll be damned if, I mean, it took a long time. It's taken months,
Mm.
but that thing has just totally enclosed itself. And
Yep.
I'm just shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar situation a few years ago. I had skin cancer. So Irish people living in Utah kind of doesn't, it's not the best recipe for avoiding skin cancer. But anyway, so I had melanoma on my foot, and literally the same thing. It was like they took an ice cream scoop to my foot to get rid of the melanoma, and the whole thing filled in. Okay, it took, took a while, but
Yeah,
it filled in. It's amazing. The body's amazing.
it really is. Yeah.
Mhm.
And to going back, to the way the medicine was hundreds and thousands of years ago, it was all based off of oils, plants, and things like that, and also getting down to the root cause.
Yeah.
And so I am very thrilled to hear of more people going out there and doing this functional medicine. And also, I know what you do is you help people with proper nutrition,
Yeah.
because I tell you what, and maybe a lot of our listeners won't believe this, but it is very true. The majority of our food that we are consuming daily is poison. I mean, it has poison in it. It
Hmm.
seriously does. The nutrients are not there like they used to be. I am just my version of it. I think that's why there's so much more childhood cancer, ADHD, depression, all kinds of things, anxiety, and it's because of the nutrients that we're bringing into our bodies at such a young age that are really not nutrients
Yeah.
because of all the preservatives they're putting there. So I have gotten to learn a lot more about nutrition through my lovely friend Jessica Endicott with Collective Healing Arts. And we talked about it just briefly at the beginning of the show. What is it that you're finding when you have a client that you're finding out what they're eating and you slowly but surely start shifting their habits? What is it that you see and what is it that they see?
Mm. So people are always amazed at how quickly they start to feel better when they just make a few simple changes. So I help people with anything from, insomnia to fatigue to pain to, weight issues, autoimmune, eating disorders, skin issues, and cravings, anything like that. And exactly to your point, not only are we not taking in enough nutrients, but we're taking in too many what I call anti-nutrients. So sugars, refined processed carbohydrates, soda, inflammatory oils in fast food, all of these anti-nutrients that are literally not only like draining the nutrients that we do have out of our body, but like fueling this inflammatory fire in our bodies and our brains, where illness and disease thrive. I mean, the vast majority of people are walking around just totally inflamed. And it manifests itself in different symptoms depending on the person, because we're all so unique. It could be brain fog, lack of energy during the day. It could be, we're putting on weight and we don't understand why. It could be we have these insane cravings that we can't satiate. It could be we've got terrible digestive issues. But there's so much we can do to, uh, first of all, to stop fueling these symptoms. I think it's a three-step approach. We got to figure out what's fueling these symptoms, what the root cause is, and find alternatives to those foods and lifestyle habits that are triggering or creating those issues, and then just find what we can add into our lifestyles to give the body what it needs to heal and nourish and feel better. And especially with somebody who's either suffering with addiction or trying to recover from addiction, it's so important that we really look at what their food intake is like, and figure out what we need to change to help them, because they're dealing with enough as it is, right? Either with their addiction or trying to recover from their addiction. So we've got to figure out what's going to help them nutrition wise to get better, and make it as easy as possible for them to incorporate it into their lives. I mean, that's one of the big things I do with my clients. It's one thing me educating them, okay, we got to add this, we got to add this, and we can't have this because, and da da da. But they're like, I've got too much going on in my head right now. I'm dealing with all of this life stuff, you know? So let's figure out, okay, what do we do for breakfast? What do we do for lunch? What do we do for dinner? What snacks can you bring around with you? What do we do for drinks? Just literally as if I'm in their kitchen with them, right? Because
Yeah.
there's too much other stressors in their lives to be worried about. You know, "Oh, I have to have a kale and salmon salad, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that's kind of what also defers people away from a lot of that stuff, right? And it's a slowly change. It's a slow lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And it's possible. It really is possible. You know,
Hmm.
I heard something, and it could be something really tiny, right? Because you mentioned it here just a second ago. You don't have to make this big, huge leap.
No.
You know, it's that slow process. And I heard years ago that if you brush your teeth earlier before you go to bed, rather than right as you're going to bed, it keeps you from eating.
Hmm.
And I thought, huh, that's kind of, I'm gonna try it just to see. Because I love ice cream. And I usually want my bowl of ice cream around between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And so I did it. I brushed my teeth like at 7:30. And
Hmm.
of course, my brain kicks in, goes, "Hey, it's time for ice cream." And I'm like, "I can't have ice cream now. I just brushed my teeth." So
Hmm.
brushing my teeth actually made me stop eating ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that simple.
And that's I love that because what you did was you didn't say to yourself, I'm not allowed to have ice cream, right? Because
Mhm.
what happens when we tell someone not to do something?
They're gonna do it.
They're going to be like, to hell with what she said. I'm doing it because I've had a bad day, right?
Yep.
Whereas what you did was you crowded out the habit of having ice cream with the habit of brushing your teeth. So now you've created these new neural pathways, these new habits, and literally they can, like scientists can actually see light bulbs going off in our heads when we create these new neural pathways. It's like we're driving, it's like for years we've been driving from, you know, home to work, home to work, home to work. We've like created this route, but it's we need to create a new one. So it takes a minute, but it's totally possible. So rather than say no, I cannot, I should not, like that negative, those negative connotations around food or habits, you've just rewired your brain, created a new one. Oh, I brush my teeth now rather than having ice cream. That's actually what I do now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I love that you brought the neurons up because it is so true. You know, especially with the analogy of driving to work, because a lot of times we'll leave work and we get home or vice versa, and we're
Mm.
like, "Holy cow, I don't even remember how I got
Yeah.
here."
What just
Because
happened here?
our brain is so wired, and it's firing in such a strong capacity, it automatically knows. That's what's so cool about our brain.
Yeah.
I'm still learning about our brain because it's such an amazing piece of equipment. And also, before I go further, listeners, I want you guys to understand, and I know Sinead can touch on this. Our brain and our gut, and our gut and our brain, two most important things right there. If one of them is not working properly, the other one's not working properly,
Yeah.
which creates the rest of our body not to work properly. So, something that when I was doing my training, they showed a video, and the video was called like the backwards bicycle. And I found it very, very interesting. There was a gentleman who, very well known. I do not remember his name, but some people of his engineered a bicycle to where if you turn the bicycle left to go left, it would actually go right. And if you went right, it would actually go left. Now, this man's in his late 30s, early 40s. He's been riding a bicycle since he was a kid. He could not ride this bike.
Mm.
And he even would go up and do public speaking and bring the bike, and he would offer people $200 cash if they could ride the bike 20 feet across stage. No one could do it. It
No.
took him 2 months to finally get to where he could steer this bike. Now, his 6-year-old son picked it up within 2 weeks. It took him
Yeah.
over 2 months.
Mhm.
The difference is his young son didn't have all these years of learning, right? His son was able to pick it up a lot quicker because his son hadn't been riding a normal bike for a long period of time. So
Right.
he retrained those neurons to
Mhm.
fire differently.
Yep.
The funny thing is when he went to go back to ride a normal bike, he couldn't ride it.
Mm.
Now
Rewire the brain.
he picked up on it a lot quicker. Of course, it didn't take him too much to figure out how to ride a normal bike that he was used to riding. However, it took a little time. And I
Hmm.
found that to be very, very interesting, to where I think a lot of people, and maybe you have seen this with clients, where they just want to give up because it's just too hard for them. They're not allowing themselves to go through that process. Because so someone, let's say someone who I'd like to call them fluffy. Let's just say someone who's gotten fluffy, they didn't get fluffy overnight. It
Hmm.
took a matter of time, just like with addiction. We don't wake up one day, say we're going to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or be addicted to porn or gambling or eating, whatever it may be. It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to take that time to go the opposite direction. And once that time goes, those neurons start firing. Like you said, scientific proof, you can see the lights going off, and the longer they fire, the stronger they entwine and the stronger they get. And before we know it, it's a lifestyle. We're doing it.
Yeah. We've new habits that last a lifestyle. And I would just say, like, and this is what I do with my clients, is that just start with small, simple steps. Start where you are, not where you want to be. It's like if you're not a runner and you all of a sudden, run a marathon, right? Or you all of a sudden want to go from not running to running a marathon. Like, that's not realistic. We've got to you know, just break it up into steps, one step at a time. So I would do things like, let's look at, I don't know, let's start with breakfast, right? Because a lot of the time with addiction or in addiction recovery, like fatigue, like lack of energy is a big problem. First of all, because we're nutrient deficient, right? Because we've had this anti-nutrient, whatever it is, alcohol, drugs, whatever, in our lives for so long. Plus, when we're going through that, we're not thinking about nourishing our bodies, right? So lack of nutrients, if we're not getting enough nutrients, there's no way we've enough energy. And then, all sorts of other things start to happen. But also we've got like a blood sugar roller coaster thing going on, right? Triggering cravings even further. So that's why I like to start with breakfast, because at least then we're setting ourselves up for the day. Okay. So then we think, okay, what's easy to incorporate in the morning? Right? For some people, it might be a smoothie. For some people, they prefer like to actually eat food in the morning. I would say if we can incorporate protein as much as possible with every meal and snack, that's probably one of the best things that we can do to aid in addiction recovery. Because if you think about it, one of the reasons why we have those cravings is because we're not producing enough neurotransmitters, right? You're talking about the neurons. So enough serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, GABA, okay? We need protein to produce those neurotransmitters. So we need protein. So the body breaks protein down. So protein from like eggs and meat, so, red meat, chicken, fish, and vegan sources, but yeah, animal protein has the highest amino acid bang for your buck, basically. So your body will break down that protein into amino acids, and then the body utilizes those amino acids to produce those hormones, those neurotransmitters. Okay. So if we are starting the day with, I don't know, a latte full of sugar, or a whatever cereal, or baked goods, we're not getting the protein, so therefore we can't produce the neurotransmitters to make our brains happy, right, and to quench those cravings. But also we're fueling the cravings and fueling the inflammation and fueling that energy roller coaster thing that's going on. And the thing is, once we eat those kind of foods, like the sugary baked goods, cereal, type things, we have a blood sugar spike. So now the body reacts by producing insulin to get the sugar out of the blood supply. But now we have a crash. So for every high, we have the low, right? And the problem is then we go from the rational prefrontal cortex of the brain to the reactionary amygdala, where it's like cravings kick in and we're like, I have to have something, right? So that's why to cut a long story short, I really recommend protein in the morning to help just calm that response, to help negate those cravings, to keep, to fuel the brain with with the serotonin and dopamine and all of these, neurotransmitters that we need to keep our mood stable, keep level, also to heal. Okay,
Yeah.
without that good quality protein, we're not healing anything. We need protein, the amino acids from protein for, to help heal our liver, right? For our skin, for muscle, for everything, for the regeneration of everything in our bodies. So that's why I would start with protein and to try to have it at every meal. And some people aren't that hungry in the mornings, right? So I think what I would recommend there, because we gotta at least start sipping on something, right? Because a lot of time, if there's addiction or addiction recovery, there's going to be some kind of adrenal fatigue going on because we've just been stealing energy from tomorrow for way too long, right? We're taxing our body. We've been taxing our bodies for way too long. So I love to recommend replenishing with a good like green smoothie, right? Easiest way to like jam pack a ton of nutrients in there and good protein without feeling that you have to force food down, right?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would do something like that.
So, I mean, do you have certain proteins that you would like to recommend for people in the morning? Because something that I never actually even thought about, because I used to get up and take a protein shake, and a lot of times I'd get up and take one right after I'd work out.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'd take one before, and I'd take one after I got done
Mhm.
working out. However, I didn't even think about it how a lot of the proteins nowadays too are also processed.
Yeah.
And there's different additives that they're putting in there, which is not good for us, right? They're
Mhm.
they're they're saying 100% whey, but is that really 100% whey? Because there's other additives they've got to put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big problem that I face too. And not only are a lot of the protein powders like highly processed, but there are a lot of things in there that like some people can deal with, but some can't. Like if, excuse me, if I have a problem, a client who can't do, I don't know, like lectins, for example, then I've got to go through all the protein powders and eliminate the ones that have pea or lentil or rice or anything like that. So it's hard. That's why nutrition is very individualized.
Mhm.
Like, you can't just hand someone a piece of paper and say, here you go, this is what you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and off you go on your merry way and everything's going to be honky-dory. It's not, because you got to look at, well, what are their specific symptoms? What are their sensitivities? Like how do their bodies react to certain foods? What time of day is best for them to eat? What are their lifestyles like? How much time do they have? Right? Um, uh, so it's very, very individualized. So I would do a lot of the time, depending on what someone's symptoms are, a lot of the time I would just go with straight collagen because
Okay.
collagen is protein, and there are lots of collagen powders you can get that have no fillers in them. So that kind of thing. Otherwise, I like ones like there's a brand called Naked, there's a brand called New Zest, there's Garden of Life. There are some good ones out there that are cleaner than most of the others. Be careful of anything with like the inflammatory oils. They seem to put those in everything nowadays. And we really underestimate how damaging physically and neurologically those oils are, those inflammatory oils. When I say inflammatory oils, I mean oils like sunflower, safflower, palm, corn, canola, like ones like that we need to be really careful of. And they just seem to put those in a lot of those protein powders and that kind of thing. And also the sweeteners, we need to be careful of those, the artificial sweeteners, because like aspartame, for example, okay, that's hidden in a lot of foods. They have found at least 92 different side effects of aspartame, a lot of them neurodegenerative.
My heavens.
It's terrible. It's so terrible. Um, so let's talk about what to put in that protein shake then, because protein is one thing. And by the way, I'd be very careful of those pre-mixed protein drinks you can get.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of them are milk based. And I find that a lot of people just can't deal with dairy like that, especially as refined processed, as that. So I would go for the protein powder where you can literally see the ingredients and know that what you're getting is pure, and then just put other things in there. Like, so we said we want to max out the nutrients we're getting as soon as we can in the morning because, we're going to have adrenal fatigue, we're going to have energy issues, we're going to have, right, nutrient deficiencies. So we need to give the body what it needs in the morning to set us up for the best day we can possibly have, right, given our situations. So I would put, a handful of power greens in there, like dark greens. I would put something like berries, like particularly those, the little frozen wild blueberries, the little
Hmm.
guys. So they're like so high in antioxidants. I put those in there, right? Because now you're getting a ton of antioxidants and it makes the shake taste really good. Um, I would put a detoxifier in there because, right, we've, uh, obviously we've been putting toxins into our body if there's been, or a lot of the times if there's been addiction, right? So we need to give the body what it needs to detox because the body was built to detoxify, right? We've got these beautiful kidneys and liver to detoxify, but we just need to give them what they need to do their job. So I would put something like a binder, like a chlorella or something like that in there just to help gently bind toxins out. Um, Basically whatever, nutrients, superfoods we can get hold of, put them in there. I have like a whole cupboard of powders that I just literally go through with my spoon in my shaker bottle, mix it up with water, boom, done. Because then I'm set. Then I'm set for the day. Then it's like, okay, I don't have time to have, a plate full of greens with lunch. It's okay because I've had that. So I'm good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just an easy way. And often people don't have an appetite in the morning, right? And so they think, oh, I'll just wait until lunch, or then it's like 2 p.m. and they're like, oh, I haven't eaten yet. And that's probably one of the worst things we can do if we're trying to recover from addiction, because then we're just triggering more cravings. So
Yeah.
if
And then
we,
we get that sugar spike too, right?
yeah, exactly. And then we go to the amygdala part of our brain, and then we're like, how can I satisfy this craving?
Yeah. One thing I saw with my ex with her alcohol is when she was in the recovery part of process, it's sugar. I mean, she had to have tons and tons of sugar. It was the
Mm,
pop. She would have one pop every night, one candy bar every night. That was like her fix.
yeah.
Right? And it was routine.
Mhm.
It was routine. Candy bar and a
Yeah.
pop, candy bar and a
Uh,
pop every single day.
yeah.
And and I just it was hard for me to understand. However, alcohol has a lot of sugar in it. Certain alcohols do.
Hmm.
And that was her brain saying, okay, well, I don't have this. Now I need this, right? Because I still have to function and this is what I'm used to.
Yeah.
So that opened my eyes quite a bit.
Mm. So that's very typical because it's like the brain has been programmed to tell the body, okay, it's time for my fix, it's time for my fix, it's time for my fix. And the body remembers, oh yeah, I get that from sugar as well. So then we get these
Mhm.
sugar cravings. So then uh the problem is, and you talked about the gut brain connection earlier. Okay, so we are dependent on sugar. So one of the reasons we crave the sugar is not only because because we've been addicted to it or alcohol, but now we've created this bacterial imbalance in our gut or in our microbiome, right? So now, so we have the good bacteria, with the good army and the bad army, right? The good bacteria and the bad bacteria. So we've overpopulated the bad bacteria in the gut because they love sugar. Okay. So now they're just like screaming to be fed, give me more, give me more. Right. And they're insatiable. Like they quieten down for a minute, but then their voices become louder and louder the more we feed them. Okay. So when I work with clients on these kind of things, again, I don't tell them, okay, no sugar, no da da da. We find ways of quenching the craving with something that's going to end up killing the bad bacteria and not feed it, but rather feed the good guys. Okay. So then the voice of the craving or the bad army just gets quieter and quieter. So in a case like that, because I've got a lot of clients who, eat sugar and carby stuff at night because they're bored, they're overwhelmed, they're stressed, they're tired, they're like all of the things, right? They're not hungry. So it's key to if we can just step back from it for a second and think, okay, why? Why am I reaching for this candy bar right now? Am I hungry? Mm-mm. Am I stressed? Am I sad? Am I tired? Am I trying to numb something? So to figure out what the cause of that feeling is, and then find alternative means to deal with it. Like you were saying earlier, that when you were rewiring your brain with your new habit of brushing your teeth, right? So, things like just removing yourself from the situation. Okay, we all have our triggers. If we're in the kitchen by the fridge, if we're watching TV, right? We because there are associations with food and sugar and pop and whatever it is. So getting outside, just going outside, taking a breath for a second. Deep breathing. I love deep breathing as a coping mechanism. That box breathing, right? Um, Meditation, journaling, spending time with loved ones, like getting that, we were talking about the neurotransmitters and the hormones earlier, getting that love hormone, oxytocin, right? Stealing a hug from our kids, or,
Yeah.
you know, cuddling up with our pets, right? Whatever it is, just to get that replacement for the sugar, because that's all the sugar is doing. I mean, it's damaging, but that's all we're looking for. Like that's the void we're trying to fill with the sugar. Um, so then in terms of food, what to have instead of the sugar, because not only are we feeding the bad bacteria with the sugar, but now by doing that, we're cutting off the power supply between the gut and the brain. Okay, because we have all of these good bacteria in the gut. We need them, or we're supposed to have the good bacteria in the gut, but we need them for those trillions of neurons that are in the gut to be able to speak to the brain properly. So the gut is known as the second brain, but it actually should be the first brain because it has 5 times the number of neurons or nerve cells in the gut than we do in the brain. But they cannot do their job of speaking to the brain properly if they don't have those little gut bugs, the good ones.
The gut
So
bug. I like that.
so so maybe something like, I love like a spoon of nut butter or something instead of your candy bar or whatever. Because if you think about it, you're getting that perfect balance of protein and fat that's going to be instantly satiating, that's going to cut off that craving straight away because you're going to feel instantly satiated. Plus, that protein and fat is feeding the brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
I find this stuff so interesting, and I never really got into anything about the brain other than the past 15 years learning how to become a better individual and reading, self-help books and conscious and paying attention to my thoughts and different things like that. Not even understanding what I've learned here since this past winter with my training and also meeting individuals like yourself and Jessica and so many other people. And I love that you put that really the gut should be the first brain. And
Yep.
and you mentioned earlier, Sinead, that you know when it's not working properly, how you get that brain frog.
Mm.
And I've I ate something, I don't know, couple weeks ago, whatever it may be, that has really started causing some stomach issues and bathroom issues.
Yeah.
And I have really been paying attention to how I'm thinking and where I'm at. And my concentration is like nothing.
Mm.
It's like it's gone. I cannot stay focused on things. And it's like I'm all over the place. And I mean, my sleeping has even changed, and I'm one who usually sleeps very well. I have my schedule. I'm good with about 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep. That's perfect for me. Anything above that, I feel like crap the majority of the day. Anything less than that, I'm okay up to a certain point, and then I really crash. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it. My
Mm,
energy, it's like,
yep.
that's what's going on. It's
Hmm.
because of what's going on in my gut.
Yep.
And I stay away from doctors as much as possible. So I'm like, okay, it's gone on long enough. I think I need to get a hold of my family physician. And he knows me well enough too. He knows that he barely hardly ever sees me, but he knows not to get out a prescription pad. He's like, okay, let's figure out what's going on. So we're having some testing done before
Good.
anything happens, and so it is, and it's so true. I'm living it and I'm seeing it. And I would have never put those two together if
Yeah.
I hadn't have met individuals like yourself and Jessica. I would have no clue. I really don't, and I'm sure you can agree with this, not because of the line of work that you're in, because of the people that you're helping. I would almost bet the majority of the clients that come to you and say, Sinead, I need your help. This is what's going on. And you start teaching them. I bet you they're scratching their head going, are you serious? I didn't put the two together because
Yeah.
we think they're separate,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
We think they're separate. And our gut, my gosh, just think of what happens
Mm,
inside that gut of ours. I mean, there is so much going on. As same with our brain. Our brain's computing everything that's happening around us.
hmm.
And if those two work together and one
Mm,
of them's not quite working the other way that it's
yeah.
supposed to,
Yeah.
there's no way we can be who we need to be
Mm-mm.
during the day.
No, 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 absolutely. And to your point, Al, if you think about it, if we've been abusing our bodies with alcohol or drugs or other addictive behaviors, remember we talked about the antigen, like so they're antigen or not, yes, antigens, but also anti-nutrients. We talked about that earlier. So if you imagine when we're doing that, first of all, when we're born, our microbiome or our gut is nice and intact, and the walls of our like intestinal walls are nice and tight and nice and intact, and we've got this lovely fertile mucosa lining there where when we eat food, the body can easily absorb the nutrients from them to provide the body with everything it needs. But over time, with these anti-nutrients, what we're doing is um, we're like we're creating holes in that nice mucosa lining. So what once looked like that now looks like this. Okay. And sugar and gluten and refined processed food, they do the same thing. So now we've got these holes in our gut. Now, even when we do eat, uh, nutritious food, first of all, the body can't absorb the nutrients from it anymore because we've got leaky gut or compromised microbiome, right? Plus, we're not producing enough digestive acids to be able to assimilate the nutrients from the food properly. Okay, so it's like you can't win either way if we don't start working on healing the gut. So that's one of the first places, no matter what a client comes to me with, one of the first things I look at is healing the gut because there's always a compromised gut situation. Always.
Wow, that's
Mm.
so amazing. It is just so cool, and I'm very grateful for the stuff that I'm learning. And I remember I was talking to Jessica once, and and I was telling her that I was really starting to get concerned because having heartburn a lot.
Ah,
And it just started increasing, right? It got to where I was having all the time, and I like hot foods, right? I like spicy foods. I put Tabasco on almost everything, or Cholula, and I love salsas and things like that, which doesn't hurt me. But
mm-hmm.
anything very high acidic, like tomato paste and different things like that, my gosh, it just, I mean, I quit eating donuts years ago just because of what they put the donuts in to make the donuts,
Oh,
right? It was just, and so I just stopped doing it. And I was telling her, I says, I'm really concerned because I am literally getting the big bottles of Tums
oh
and
no.
I'm going through it like it's nothing. And I know that's not good for me. And she
Mhm.
goes, Al, go to Sprouts or go to one of the health foods. And she goes, go get you some aloe juice.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay. And she goes, just take a shot of it, right?
yeah,
Get a shot glass, take a shot of it. And so I did. I went and I sampled it. Matter of fact, I took a picture. I bought two huge things of it. And I said, well, you told me to do it, so I went all out, right? And I for the first two jugs, really, I wasn't noticing much.
hmm.
However, I'm a person who I will give something at least 3 to 4 months because I know my body
Good.
has to adjust.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. So I know my body has to adjust and it has to kind of realign itself to get used to something different. And slowly but surely, I notice it starting to
Hmm.
subside. And now I go buy it and I get 2 of the glass bottles. I don't get the stuff out of the plastic anymore. I get the
Good.
stuff in the glass. Thank you, Jessica, for telling me that too. And I keep it in my refrigerator. Last night, um, I had a little taste of heartburn. So instead of getting up, running over to the medicine cabinet and pulling out a couple Tums,
Hmm.
I go over, get in my fridge, I take a
Yeah.
shot of it, I just drink it right out of the bottle, went to bed, it was gone. And
Yeah.
now I have noticed that my heartburn is subsiding. I'm getting it
Good.
less and less. And I believe it's because I'm starting to heal those holes.
Yeah.
Yes, that you just spoke about,
Yeah.
right? I'm
Yeah.
starting to bind them a little bit better because I'm taking something that's better for me and
Yeah.
something that's plant-based and healthy.
Yeah. And it sounds counterintuitive, but we have that acid reflux or heartburn because, yes, because that mucosa lining in our intestinal wall has been compromised, but also because we're not producing enough digestive acids, right?
Yeah,
Digestive fluids. So if we're producing enough hydrochloric acid or digestive acids, then the body can digest food properly and we don't have that heartburn. So I would always do like recommend things like probiotics, right? Repopulate the gut flora, get those digestive acids, um, functioning again, or our body's producing them, and also take digestive enzymes with food, right? So
wow.
yeah, that so many people leave that acid reflux untreated, and that's really dangerous. That's one of the
Yeah.
first things I work on with a client who comes to me with issues, including that. I'm like, okay, we got to get rid of that first. 'Cause that's, yeah, that's got a compromised esophagus is not a way to go.
Well, and that happened with my late dad. He had acid reflux so bad. I mean, I remember as a kid, especially if it was like before a bowling tournament or something, I'd watch him eat 2 rolls of Rollates. I mean,
Oh,
just pound them. And as he got older, he ended up having issues with his esophagus
yeah.
because of the acid actually was burning through his
Mhm.
esophagus. It was
Oh,
taking down the lining in the wall. And then he
yep.
started having other issues because of that.
Yeah. 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 You don't want to leave that one untreated for sure.
Yeah.
And again, starts with gut health, right?
Yeah. Speaking to with the gut and even the brain, and I mentioned before the show, Dave and Susan Kenny, who happened to be the people who trained me to
Mm,
be a crisis and recovery coach, their whole approach on coaching is the brain first approach, and wouldn't really go into basically the addiction. They already know the addiction's there,
yeah.
and they'd go in through the brain first approach, and they are the first individuals that I actually interviewed on my show and spoke to about the proper nutrition
Hmm.
and how it does help us with our concentration and our energy and things like that.
Yep.
And what I found really, really amazing is before COVID hit and in Canada, they were forced to shut down their business, unfortunately. But when a client came into their facility, they would not even sit down and work with them to start working with them to find out what was happening with them for at least 2 weeks.
Mm,
And they said what we would do is we would all do it together. Everyone would meet together and we would get in the kitchen and he goes, Al, this was an extra expense that we did not charge our clients.
right.
We didn't put this into the budget of what they paid us to get them healthy. It's
Hmm.
something that him and Susan decided that this is what would be worth it to help our clients get the best results.
Yep.
And they would go buy all this nice organic and healthy food, and then everyone would help prepare their dinners. And he said it was one of the most coolest things to see
Mm,
how within such a short period of time, by giving someone the proper nutrition,
yeah.
how their whole demeanor, their attitude, I mean, the way they walked, the way they held themselves, everything, how it completely changed them.
Yeah.
And I was even scratching my head going, "Are you serious?" I mean,
Mhm.
something just like that? But
Yeah.
now that I've learned a lot, I mean, there's still so much I don't even know. I've just barely scratched the surface.
Mhm.
I'm just going, "My heavens." So now me and some other people, Jessica, one of them, are looking at wanting to open up a facility that
Mhm.
does that same type of thing, that we actually help and sit down and give this proper nutrition to
Yeah.
individuals. Because when our neurons are firing healthier, my gosh, and we got good
Yeah.
nutrients in our gut, we're all
Mhm.
around already a whole new person, and we're
Yep.
giving ourselves at least a better opportunity of getting out of whatever pain that we're holding in, which is causing our addiction in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, we've only just touched on the nutrition side of it, but okay, so we know why we need protein, right? For the amino acids, for the happy neurotransmitters. But let's look at fats, right? The brain, we need the brain to function properly. It's not functioning properly. There's addiction and fatigue and brain fog and all of these things. The brain is 60% fat, right? 60% fat. We're not, the vast majority of people are starving their brains. Look what happened with the low fat, fat free, diet culture. When did that start? I guess 80s, 90s, right?
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah. Um, so they cut fat out of everything. So now not only are we starving our brains of one of the main nutrients it needs, but what did they replace the fat with? Sugar. Something that's killing our brains and fueling our cravings and killing our good bacteria and all of this kind of stuff. And so now we survive on, antidepressants and painkillers and all of these things, right? When really what we need to do is add more good fats to our, I don't want to say diet, I don't like that word, but you know, food protocol, right?
Yeah.
So things like avocados, olives, olive oil, coconut oil, nuts and seeds, you know, wild fish, organic pasture raised eggs, like all of these beautiful foods that are just going to nourish the brain and feel it, they make us feel so good. They nourish the brain and they reduce inflammation at the same time. So I would say one of the first things, well, we said protein first, but I mean, together with protein, if we can add more good fats, then we're doing our brains and our sort of addictive behaviors a lot of good. And then when you think about it, without even focusing on the foods that we really ought to look at avoiding because they're compromising our health, we're naturally crowding them out, right?
Yeah.
Because we're naturally adding more protein and good fats to our plate, you know?
So I'm I'm a person who, and I don't know, maybe they won't even post this show because of certain things you say. It's crazy anymore. But my version of, I do not trust the FDA. I think
Mm.
the FDA is a bunch of BS, and I could get very heated talking about it. I think they're all about this. So all these years, all of us have been programmed. We got to feed our bodies, feed our body proper nutrition, feed our body proper nutrition. What
Yeah,
I have been learning here in the past 4 months, if not longer, it's our brain and our gut we need to be feeding, not our body. Because
correct.
as long as we're feeding those two things the proper nutrition, our body takes care of the rest, right? I mean, it's again, our computer will do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Do it all. It's just like
Yep.
pitching something in an AI system, right? If you want to know about something and, how would I properly write an email about proper nutrition and blah, blah, blah. And then it just kicks it out. It's the same type of way. So
Okay.
we need to change it. We need to change and say, feed
Yeah.
your brain,
Mm-hmm.
not feed our bodies. We got to feed our brain, and the brain and the gut will take care of our bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and this is the problem with, years of addiction and anti-nutrients, not even alcohol, drugs, but I'm talking like sugar, gluten, soda, I mean, the number of people that I've helped get off soda and diet soda, even worse,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Since moving to Utah has has been unbelievable. But it's a big problem because it's wiping out the good bacteria. It's causing this, inflammatory environment where like illness and disease they just love it. They're like, yay, more inflammation. And then we have more sugar or more baked goods or whatever it is. And it's like we're throwing gasoline on the inflammatory fire. How can we be expected to sleep properly? How can we be expected to think clearly? There's no way. Now, as we start to get older, our hormones are tanking too, because nature's like, thank you very much. Off you go. You've served your purpose, right? So now we're literally running on empty. We're
Yeah.
literally in order to survive every day, we're just trying to steal energy from tomorrow until one day the body's like, I'm out. I've got nothing left to give you. So we've got to look at how we can refuel the tank, like re-strengthen our adrenals, heal our gut, uh, rather than focus on, trying to stop like stop addictive behaviors cold turkey or anything like that. I mean, everybody has a different way, but rather, what can I add today? What can I add today that's going to give me more health, more strength, help my fight, right? Let's add more. Let's have scrambled eggs and avocado for breakfast. Let's make a shake and bring it with us in the car so that we can sip on that as we're out doing our thing, right? Let's have, for dinner, let's cook up a load of chicken and cook extra so we at least we have protein to grab out of the fridge for lunch. So we have something, so we're like drip feeding good protein, good fats, good nutrients over the course of the day. Just keep drip feeding them to keep gradually rebuilding. Because as you said earlier, the damage that we do to our bodies and our brains, it didn't happen overnight. It's a cumulative effect of years of all of these things. And yes, it does take time to heal, but I'm always blown away at how quickly the body and the mind can heal, because that's what they want to do. They're just waiting for the ammunition to do that. They're
Yeah.
waiting for us to take away the things that are hurting and compromising our health, and they're waiting for us to give them what they need to rebuild, to heal, to cleanse, to detoxify, to all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would have to agree because the body is starving for it, right? And what happens when you're
Starving.
starving for it?
Hmm.
Once it gets it, I mean, just picture as an addict, right? If an addict is wanting to drink or wanting to gamble or do a drug, man, the body's starving for it. And once you give it, it's satisfied.
Yeah.
So when we start feeding it the proper nutrition, it's going to go, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? I'm
Yeah.
waiting
This
for you,
feels so good.
It feels so good. Yeah. And one thing I want to add in there too, so our listeners understand, and this is something I heard on a podcast. Matter of fact, the Wellness Crusaders podcast.
Mm,
The food industries out there, guys, they are spending billions of dollars
mm.
to know what ingredients to put in our foods to get us addicted. So
Yeah.
we buy more. See, it's going back to this greed thing, right? Doesn't matter if they made $1 billion, they want $2 billion the next
Yeah.
year because they can't spend $1 billion, but yet they still want more of it. You know, they're putting things in our foods. This is why I don't trust the FDA to get us addicted. There are certain energy drinks that have certain things in it, which I still haven't got them all memorized, and my lovely friend Jessica is helping me with this. But it's to keep you coming back for that. It's to keep
Mhm.
you needing that. So when your body goes, "Oh, I'm tired. Okay, well, I need to go to the store and get another Monster."
Yeah.
There are certain energy drinks too, like Celsius, and I think Monster is one of them, that one of the chemicals actually comes off of sewage plants. It's the
Mm.
foam that they take, and then they dry the foam out, and the food industries can get it for free.
Uh,
They don't even charge them, and then they add this in. So basically, it's being added into there.
Mm.
You've got things like Cheetos and different, all kinds of so many different foods that certain chemicals are there to where, guys, it's causing us to go back to it over and over and over again because it's making them a ton of money and
Yeah.
it's making us sicker.
Yeah. Yeah, they spent billions of dollars figuring out how we're hardwired. Like this is
Yep,
all very intentional, right? And the marketing
yep,
is intentional. So we need to become vigilant about reading labels. Every time we go to eat something, we need to look at what's in there. If sugar or artificial sweeteners are in the top 3 ingredients, we don't want it. In fact, as we are further along in our healing journey and we are adding more things or taking away more things, I would say we want to get sugar and artificial sweeteners not even on the labels. But let's just remember, we talked earlier, let's start where we are. Let's start where we are and take it one step at a time. We want to watch, yeah, sugar and artificial sweeteners. We want to watch those inflammatory oils. We want to watch the artificial colors and flavorings, like all of those things. There's always a more natural version of all of those things. There are always alternatives. We can always find something to have instead of those foods that are going to damage.
yeah. And things things, I mean, the taste is still there, right? We can still be satisfied with how our
Yeah.
food tastes because I don't know how it is in other countries. I've not really ever been one that's ever traveled, which I'd love to. I'd love to go to other countries and
Hmm.
taste different things. However, I know here in the West, we love our food. We
Hmm.
definitely love our food. And I know people who are slowly, like me myself included, I'm working on getting rid of more gluten out of my diet
Hmm.
because it's inflammatory, right? I don't want my body to ache. I don't want my, yeah, I'm 61 and I don't want to be dealing with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've tasted some of it and really it's, to me there's maybe a slight little bit of a difference. It's not really that big and I've had other people go, I just can't stand it. It tastes like crap. Really? I mean, because I'm not really, I mean, again, we're all, our taste buds are different, right?
Of
It
course.
could be for that individual.
Hmm.
However, again, it's just that lifestyle change, just slowly working yourself into
Hmm.
it. You
Yeah.
know, talking here, we are on addiction podcast. The first time I had beer as a young man, I couldn't stand the taste of beer. Well, I acquired the taste and very heavily. I drank a lot of it on the weekends, So again, it's kind of that same type of thing. And I just wanted to use that as an analogy in a way. Maybe it would not have been the proper one. However,
Mm.
basically
Yeah.
that's just how life goes, right?
And that's the thing, like our taste buds change,
Mm,
like I have so many clients who were addicted to sugar, right? And then after working together, they're like they've barely any sugar in their lives anymore. I don't want to say diets in their lives. And then if they do have something, like if someone offers them or something like that, they were like, oh my God, this tastes terrible, because we change, our taste buds do change.
yep, absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, Sinead, gosh, we've gone just a little over an hour. It's amazing how fast it goes by. But when you have really good conversation, it's easy for that hour to fly by like it's nothing. Is there something that you think would be very important to leave with the audience?
Um, so I so as we kind of talked about earlier, I feel that people are not being listened to, right? They go to the doctor, and I'm not dismissing Western medicine. Please don't get me wrong. Western medicine definitely has its place, but they're not listening to their patients. They don't have the time. They've got like 7 minutes per client, per patient. And as you said, they take out a prescription pad, they write them something, off you go on your merry way. They're not listening to what's going on in their lives. Why are they feeling like this? Why are they gravitating towards these things? Why are they having the cravings? What are the root causes? Um, so I would invite all of our listeners to schedule a free 30-minute Zoom call with me if they want to do that. where we can really talk about your health, what's going on, why these things are happening, and how we can work together to get you on your journey to wellness. And so anybody can schedule that on my website. My website is just my name, so Sinead Irwin. So Sinead is Sinead, and then Irwin, URWIN.com. I would love to talk with all of our listeners about what's going on and figure out what we can do to get you on your path to wellness.
I love that. And I'll make sure, Sinead, that that's on the show notes.
Hmm.
I'll make sure that that
Thank you.
website is there. And guys, take her up on that free offer. I mean, what's it going to hurt,
Yeah,
right? And usually, if someone offers me a free offer, I jump on it because who knows where it goes.
exactly.
And a lot of times you can do this stuff also very inexpensively, if that
Oh,
makes
totally.
sense,
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, take her up on it. And again, I'll make sure it's on the show notes. So if you guys missed it, excuse me, and didn't get it written down, it will be on there for you to take. So, Sinead, thank you so much for taking time out of your day again to be with us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And again, I'd like to offer this with a lot of my guests. If you ever want to come back on and share something else, please reach out. I've had guests on as much as 2 to 3 times.
Hmm.
Some just telling their journey where they've gone in their life, which is really cool. And just, yeah, I just want to say thank you. It's individuals like yourself that are out there making a difference in our community. And I love being around individuals like yourself who have the energy and just wants to make a difference. Because I think a shift is starting to happen. I really, really do. And more people I think are starting to wake up, and that's exactly what we need. And it takes a plethora of us to make that possible.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you so much. I could talk about this stuff all day long, and I could talk to you all day long, Al. So thank you for inviting me on your show. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, just pop me a message via my website. And yeah, I'd love to come back on and chat with you again, Al.
Okay, well, we'll definitely chat about it. So again, thank you so much. And a thank you to all our future guests, our past guests, all you listeners. Again, you guys are the ones that are making this possible. And I just got to say, guys, I'm really excited because this is the 299th episode.
Oh,
One more
wow.
episode to hit 300. I am just freaking shocked. I heard when we hit 100 that it was a milestone when it comes to podcasts. And now here we are, one show away from 300. So I'm really excited. And again, guys, it's all because of you. You guys are the ones that are making it possible. So, guys, remember this. We're going to leave you with this. Addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.